We have a great guest on today. Her name is Erin Kennedy Haddett. Again, Erin, I am apologizing ahead of time if I am chopping up your last name. But Erin is a mommy to 3 kids. She's had 17 years of experience. She's also a registered nurse, a postpartum nurse, which is amazing because you know what we go through, some women go through after having babies, but have plenty experience. She also has her own podcast called the Mommy Mentor Podcast. So if you get a chance, check her out. I'll link her also at the bottom. Today, we're going to be talking about just navigating this world, raising today's tweens and teens. So without further ado, I'm going to let Erin in and we're going to start chatting it up. I'm just waiting for her to come in. Sometimes we have a little bit of a gap, like a lapse. Oh, here she is.
Ah, we did it.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you? How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I can't really hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
There we go. How are you?
I am very well. Did I like chop up your last name?
A little bit, but it's okay. It's the hard part. My husband's last name is Helt, and so I hyphenated, so it's Kennedy Helt. Yeah.
Yes, I hyphenated as well. So it's like sometimes, isn't it? I find like it's a problem with the school. Sometimes you're really getting emails and your maiden name or someone's addressing you that way. You're like, no, it's actually Helt. No,
Yes,
or
yeah.
like, no, it's actually Morrison.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And I always say, people are like, so how do you like that? How do you like it? Would you go back in time and do it differently? And I'm like, no, the principle fact of the reason I did it, the principle still holds true, but practicality is hard because you call and you make an appointment and you're like, okay, here's my last name. And they're like, what?
What? Yeah. They're like,
Yeah.
we can't find you. And you're like, oh my goodness. They're like, okay,
Yeah.
what's your date of birth?
Exactly.
You're like, what? It's like,
Just let's start there. Here's my date of birth.
I'm, yeah, right. Definitely. So how's your week going?
It's going pretty good. I had normal work week. Yeah. How was your week?
Oh, it was good. It was busy. Yeah. Just, I'm so glad it's Saturday. I'm like, my husband and my son, they're out like bike riding. So they're like riding the bikes and they're on this, what do you call it? Not the scooter, but maybe it is the scooter they're on. I don't know. They're like out and about. I'm like, bye, knock yourselves out. I have to work. Yeah, bye.
Yeah.
Come back in a couple
And you're
hours.
leaving? Great.
Yes, time to myself. We cherish that. Yes, yeah. So, Erin, I wanted to thank you again for agreeing to come on my podcast and talk about all things our wonderful children.
Of course, it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, oh my God, of course, definitely. So we're going to get right into it. So what are some of your challenges raising 2 twin teenage girls?
Ooh, a lot of
and
them.
1 tween boy?
Yes, 1 tween boy. So my son is 12 and my twins are 17. The twins are girls. A lot of challenges. The basic one that I found that I'm not prepared for, that no one talks about, and that was honestly a major reason that I started my own podcast, was because I'm sitting here talking about things that I don't know that anyone told me about before I became a mom, and then I'm finding them out for myself. So another thing I'm discovering that no one told me about is the struggle of letting them become independent and grow and do what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to become independent of you, but that is a hard thing to let your child do when your primary instinct is to protect them, and it always has been to protect them. So it's really been hard, I guess, cutting the cord a little bit and letting them venture out into the world and do things on their own. One of them just got her license. They pooled their money. They bought a car. They're driving. One of them's driving. The other one's still working on it. But that is scary, like letting them just, and it's not, I don't worry about them. They're always like, Mom, we're fine. I'm like, I know you're fine. I'm not,
Yeah.
and then I hear my mother in my head. It's not you I'm worried about. I'm worried about everyone else. And I'm like,
Yeah, and that's like yeah. And that, to me, I'm like so afraid. I'm not like looking forward to that because that's like a whole another layer of stress and worries. You're just like, oh my goodness, do not text on the phone. Just please pay attention. You're right.
Yes.
We're not worried about you. Super safe, but it's the other people around you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so scary. You know?
Yes. Letting them be and letting them go off into the world. And like, I tell people all the time, I have to eventually, when I die in a long time from now, I have to leave them here. And people are like, they're going to be grown-ups. And I'm like, I don't care if they're grown-ups. I have to leave them in this world to fend for themselves. And then I also have to let them go off into the world to fend for themselves. And it's just terrifying because I know they're capable, and you just hope that you've done enough, that you've prepared them well enough, and you're always here so they can ask questions, they can come back, they can come home. I'm a little bit lucky in the sense that my daughters want to live at home during college. They both have decided to go locally and stay at home during college. So I'm a little bit lucky in that regard because I get to not keep tabs on them, but see that they're okay every day.
Yeah. That's big because I feel like so when your kids go off to college and they're not living at home, you don't know like what time they're coming home or what parties they're going to and who are they around, and you can only just hope and pray that all the values you've instilled in them, that they are like, that's the takeaway. They know like they're going to be like good kids and they're not going to get in situations where it's just, oh, and you're not there to be like, oh, my baby. You know, when they're home, you're still going to have that worry where you'll, hey, it's 2:00. They're not home. You know there'll be no coming.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be losing sleep in the next few years.
Yeah. And I make this joke. It's so funny because I remember growing up and my mom was like, your dad would just be like there snoring away. And she's, no matter what, if it was like 2:00, I could not go to sleep. And I heard that you come in the house and the door, I was like, oh, now I can sleep. You know what I mean? It's, that layer of stress. And when you're young, you're like, oh, Mom, please don't worry. But when you're a parent, you're just like, now I get it.
Totally.
Like they are like your lifeline. Okay, what if you know what? It's that saying when people say you're only as happy as your saddest child. If your child is not well, you are not well. So with that being said, even if you have one daughter home and the other one's out, you're still like, okay, one more still needs to come in this door before mommy goes to sleep. Yeah. You're like, where's your sister at?
Yeah, exactly. I need to make sure all my ducks are in a row. We have that instinct. It's an animal instinct to protect our children. Like we do it from the very beginning. Animals do it. Like it's just there. It's ingrained in us. We can't help it. And even though we know that this is the way it's supposed to work, it's hard to just let them go and let them be. And you have to explain harsh realities about the world that you really don't. You try to keep your kids be kids. I was just saying to my husband the other day, because the girls are graduating from high school this year. And so that's crazy to me. And I just was saying to him, like, I don't want this world for them. Like the way that it is, the way the economy is, the political climate around the United States, like around the world, the climate change, just people in general. I'm like, This is not the world I wanted for them, and this is not what I envisioned when I had babies. And there's nothing I can do about that. I can't change the way the world is. But here's me feeling pressure that they're going off into this world that I can do nothing about.
Yeah.
It's a scary one. So
it is a scary world.
And I think it's scarier than when we were coming out of the house.
Oh, 1,000%. The biggest thing I always say, social media has been a blessing and a curse. When we grew up, we had zero social media. And that's so important because, like, what you do, people always have their phone out. They can tape anything. Or everyone has, like, a Ring camera, right? Like, you can be in someone's home and they're, like, taping everything. Like, it was never that way before. You know? Yeah. So they're growing up in a totally different world that we have to have conversations with them that our parents never had to have with us. Ever. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like a phone, like we got a phone. It was like big and we were like, I got a little phone. We had a pager. Oh, I got page, I got a pager. Yeah. It's like I gotta go to the pay phone. Like I don't think payphones around at all anymore.
I've been
You
asking,
know?
what is that? When the girls saw one, what is that?
Yeah, you're like, that's a phone. They're like,
It's a
what?
payphone. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
like, so they are going and experiencing things that we never had to. So we're trying to like have these conversations and navigate through everything, just trying to still be like, okay, I'm still a cool mom, and the social media, just really trying to navigate. And like you and I were talking before, I'm like Snapchat, like you snap, it's gone.
I
You
know.
like, they talk, you're like, you can't even go back and look. It's
Scary.
gone.
I know.
So scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
totally
that's like
agree.
one of the scariest things for me.
Like that you don't know what they're putting out there.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we waited a while for my daughters to get they got phones pretty much when they were like 11 or 12 when the reason we always purchased a phone for our children was for we cited it as a safety reason because that they had a way to contact us always, and we also had the Life 360 app and we could track them. But then it got to high school and they wanted social media, and we were like, okay, sounds fine, and we let them have that. And you're wondering, how did I keep them from downloading it in the first place?
Yeah.
Fun fact, parents, keep your kids' Apple ID passwords from them. Don't tell them what they are, and then they can't download anything. And you will know exactly when they want to download something, or set up your phone in that parental control way, one of the two. But we let
Yeah,
them have
that's so funny.
Instagram, and I was like, okay, so here's what we need to talk about. We need to talk about your username. We need to talk about like your profile picture. We need to talk about the privacy controls. We need to talk about sharing things and tagging people and what will happen if you share and tag someone. And one of my daughters posted a picture of her she had gone to her softball banquet and she was holding her award and a ball in her hand and like in front of her body. And the picture was just her holding the award and the ball, and her stomach, because she was wearing, of course, what are we wearing now? We're
Crop
wearing
tops?
crop tops. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So the stomach is there in the picture, and I was like, okay, you got to change that up. I was like, why is your stomach in that photo? And she's, Mom, no one's going to think about anything about it, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you don't know. And I realized that's just a stomach. So,
Right.
and it's not even her face. You can't even tell whose stomach it is. But it was just like, that was the first lesson in, okay, think about what you're putting on there. And then I just noticed the other day that my other daughter, I had taken a picture of her when we were on vacation in New Jersey at the beach this summer. And I took it knowing that it's a picture that probably a mom doesn't want of her children, but that a young woman would want for herself. She was in her swimsuit, standing in the water, looking adorable, and she was like brushing her hair out of her face, so her hand was like this, and it was adorable, and it was from the back, so you can't see her face, but she's wearing a bikini, as they do. And I just looked at her Instagram the other day, and I'm like, oh, God, that's on there. Oh, shit.
Yeah. Get it off. What are you doing?
I was like, why did you put that there? But, so you have to, and I'm just happy it doesn't have her face, to be honest. But,
Yeah.
so she did, and they'll ask me questions like, can we post a picture of our brother? Is that okay with you? And their accounts are private, but I still love that they ask, because I
Yeah.
have purposely locked down my social media and removed my children's faces from my public social media on purpose, just because I'm doing this now. And so, we're learning lessons in faces and safety, and I don't know why people are crazy, but they are. I don't know what they're
Yeah.
capable of either, and they're capable of a lot of scary stuff, so let's just keep it locked down.
Yeah, it is. It's so true. It's like you never would have to be like a picture. You would just take a picture with your camera, and you'd be like, we were like, oh, we can get a throwaway camera and go have the just develop like in an hour. That was
You have to
it's open
make
forum.
it age appropriate, but it's always a conversation. Like you
Always.
have every conversation with a child. You just have to be cognizant of what developmental stage they're at.
It's like fun. Now it's like instant up, or I'm like Snapchatting, or someone just hit me up on the TikTok and this, and you're like, what? Just like trying to keep up. But for you, I feel like, so you know what? Boys are like not as scary as the girls, because the girls can develop when they're like 11 or 12, and you're like, how old are you? And you're like, Yeah, she's 12 years old, and you
Yeah.
have like teenage boys that are like in high school looking at her, or more disgusting, grown men, because
Yeah.
they're very matured. They have bodies, they have breasts, they have booties. You're like, you are sick, and I will 1000% go to jail.
Oh, a
Okay?
thousand
That is my
percent.
baby.
I will hurt
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a child. Okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not only is it a child, it's my child. So I really
Yes.
suggest you don't mess with him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So that's what I always say. Like with the girls, I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know. I go, oh, because I feel like girls are a little bit more like the clothes that they wear are risky, the shorts that they wear are 2.5,
Girl.
little like this with the
Girl.
crop. And you're like, whoa, okay. My anxiety's going to be on 1,000
That's
now.
the
Yes,
clothes
the
have been a
little itty
large
bitty
issue.
bikini. Yes, it's a lot. And you're just like, you have to tell yourself as a mom, because you have daughters, okay, this is in style because we wore it as well. The
Right.
only difference is we did not have the social media. Post the pictures. You took a picture, you shared it with your family, you had it on your wall or on your mirror. That was it.
That was it. It wasn't going anywhere.
Now it's like everyone has it. It's
Everyone
like
has
you
it.
put it up, it's a digital imprint everywhere. You're just like, wait, your parents didn't have to have that talk. Hey, if you do, this can come back and you have to think about what you're posting. And that
Yes.
to me is so scary.
And look
You're,
at the celebrities. Like 20-year-old tweets are coming back to bite them in the butt.
yeah. Yeah, it's so scary. So you always have to think about it, and you have this conversation, and you're like, okay, if you want to think about like the college you want to go to, like pull up your social media and like something that you posted and you thought that was super funny. They're like, no, we didn't think that. You were making fun of a particular group of people, or you said this, or you did that. So that, no, we wouldn't, we don't want you at our school.
Exactly.
Yeah, or a
I know.
job. Like you think about those things.
Exactly. I know. And I'm like, I'm just so. We didn't have to deal. We're not sitting here. Like, social media is a whole other thing. Like, my mom was dealing with a lot of these issues with raising two girls as well. Like, birth control and the little clothes and the dating and the boys and the letting them drive and leave the house and on their own and all that. My mom's dealing with all that, but she wasn't dealing with the online piece of things and what could possibly be going on that you're even like completely unaware of.
Yeah, wanting to get the likes. We never had to go, let me get this picture. We're going to think
Exactly.
about that.
And then online bullying, and thank goodness my girls haven't really fallen victim to that, but like we both know how mean girls can be. Like high school
Yes.
girls, grown women can be mean. And I can't even imagine going to high school with social media. It would have been relentless.
Relentless. You're right. It is terrible. Where I'm like, the things that they have to go through, I'm like, it is so hard now. We thought
yes.
it was like hard. I feel like the only thing we had was like, okay, I'm going through puberty and I'm getting acne and whatever. I'm wearing
that
makeup
boy
looking
like
like a
me?
clown.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
exactly.
never. Yeah, does he like me or trying to be like cool with the in the end group? But it's now it's so different. It's just like, it's not like who can post the best picture or who can do a song comes out and we're like uploading it and we're doing like a
Doing the
TikTok
trend
behind
and-
it and yeah, a trend. And it's, do you even know what this is? Do you even know the meaning? And having them understand, because also I think their minds are so young, they're just like look at a picture, and I'm talking about our tweens now. They look at pictures and they're just like, oh, wow, this is cool. Let me just say, do you even know what that means? Do you even know what that person said? Like being able to really, truly articulate.
Right.
Oh, okay. No.
Yeah, maybe you
Yeah.
click the like on the picture, you like the picture. Did you read the caption under it? Because it might have been
Thank
saying
you.
some way messed up stuff that we do not stand for in our family.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I
and-
think it's, yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's how they get you. Like the people who are posting those crazy things online, they know that. Like they know that if they post a picture that someone might like and not bother to read the caption, because this is a 2024 world where all instant gratification. We don't have time to read all that. We're not reading captions. We're not watching long videos. We're not doing all that. You've lost our attention after about a second and a half.
Yeah.
So, and they know that, and they post those like gorgeous pictures or whatever it may be to grab your attention, and then the caption says God knows what.
Absolutely. And also just like realistically, people show you what they want you to see. So don't think that this person who is the same age as you they're flying private and they're doing all these things. It's like
Yeah.
everything is like that old bait and switch. It's don't think they want you to think that they're having all this and oh, they have the money, they got this and they're flashy and it's this. No.
Yeah,
It's
exactly. And you don't know, if that person really does have those things, you don't know the work that went into getting those things. If it's just a one-time thing and it's a special treat for them and then they're posting it, that's not their everyday life. C, no one airs their dirty laundry on social media. They only talk about the positive stuff. No one talks about the negative stuff. It's very hard to be human in front of the world, and you don't do that on social media. You show your wins, you show your positive things. You're not talking about, oh man, like my kid just did this or my kid just did that, and or my husband and I had an argument or whatever. You're not doing that. You're not talking about real life things. You're just posting your wins. And like you said, the 12-year-old looks at the social media, they're scrolling through someone's feed, and that's all they see. So they think, oh man, their life is just amazing. And it's not. It's just they only post their wins. And that's everyone.
it's always so funny. Okay, so do you feel like are boys easier to raise than girls?
So I haven't hit the really crazy years with my son yet. The girls, they were pretty good up until I'd say like 14, 15, and like when it really started to change because the pandemic happened and they were in freshman year. So they did distance learning for their whole freshman year of high school.
Okay.
And then they went to school for sophomore year. So that is when I noticed the change. And
Change.
I didn't really realistically put it together until recently, but the change was more attitude, more just rebellion, like for no reason. Not it was the pandemic. It wasn't the pandemic. There wasn't a lot of things that you could go out and do, and also they're restricted because they're 15, they don't drive. But like way more just blatant talking back, just disregard for other people's feelings, and mostly towards the parents, and not so much towards each other. So definitely notice that the girls have way more of a mouth and an attitude. So I haven't hit the hot spot, I don't think, with my son yet. But it's starting. I know it's starting because we're having doors slamming in the house. We're having screaming happen. When you said the other day that your son slammed the door, I was like, oh man, my kid doesn't do that. And then he
Get
slammed
out.
the door that day.
You're like, Felita, you jinxed me. You jinxed me.
It was so funny. I was like, he slammed the door. But yeah, and he asked for a perm, and I was like, I'm not getting you a perm. I don't want to pay for a perm. He wants like the hockey hair look, and I'm like, no.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not doing that. Sorry, but it won't probably work very well for your hair because you have fine hair and it just won't turn out very well. And B, I'm not paying for that. Sorry. And I'm so mad at you, and walks in his room, slams the door, and I'm like, okay, this is starting. And then just like when he gets upset about something, he just screams, and I'm like, okay, we need to work on our feelings, talking about our feelings. And like that for me is a huge thing I'm concerned about that I wasn't really concerned about with my girls. The girls know how to talk about their feelings. The girls vocalized when they had issues or when they were feeling a certain way. My son, look at our society. What do? We tell boys, you don't cry, you don't talk about your feelings, you don't be sensitive. And it's getting better. I think as generations go on, that stereotype is starting to wear off, but it's still there. And so my son I'm worried about him being able to talk about his feelings. And I want to make sure that he is able to do that. That's my big concern there, is that, man, I can't raise a boy who doesn't know how to talk about his feelings, because that will affect literally every area of his life. And I don't want him to get into a relationship and not know how to like work things out with whoever he's in a relationship with verbally. Hello. So we haven't gotten to the hot spot yet, but we're definitely getting little tastes. And my biggest concern with a boy is just like the big stuff, like the stuff that I'm hoping I can ingrain in him before he leaves me.
Yeah, I know. For me, it's more like he is really in tune with his feelings, except sometimes unless he just like acts sometimes. And then, has this whole like probably 45 minutes, an hour production breakdown. Then it's after the fact. It's, I didn't sleep well last night, Mom, because I was thinking of this. Oh, I had a terrible day at school. Why did we have that? Whose fault was that? It was my fault. I'm sorry. I just acted, instead of saying, you know what, I'm going to take a beat. Let me just, whatever. It's just like, you can't hear anything. And that's the thing that I'm like, you need to work on that. Take a pause. We'll just be having a conversation. It's, go crazy. And it's like, wow, really? Yeah, this is how our morning is starting off. My husband will wake up and I'm like, what is going on here? World War III in the house.
Uh-huh.
He was just like, I can't get out of the house. I want to just like someone like, Scotty, beam me up. Beam me up, Scotty. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just eject me out of the home. It is like craziness.
Yeah.
And once they're on a tangent, it's forget it.
Oh my gosh, I know. And I'm like, could you just calm down? I'm like, okay, all right.
You calm down. It's all your fault.
Uh-huh. I know. I'm always joking, like, I'm building a tiny home on the driveway. You guys can visit me sometimes.
Yeah. Oh my, I love that. I love that. You can visit me sometimes, yes, because no, not now. I just want to like take a beat.
Yeah, exactly. Where you're just like, can I just leave this situation like right now? Please get me out of it.
Oh my
it's
goodness,
just so
you're
stressful. Like, and sometimes it has nothing to do with you. They're just upset, and you're like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah, I just think sometimes it's just, especially for our tweens, it's their hormones, they're changing. My son is starting to get like acne, and he's really he'll get like maybe he's getting a pimple right here, then one maybe on his nose and one on his face, and he's says, I need a pimple patch, you have to get this kind. It's, oh my goodness. And I swear, I'm like, I feel like his voice might be even changing as well. I'm like, stop it. A little mustache. I'm like, this is too much for me. So I think it's all that's going on, and they just don't really know how to handle
totally.
the changes.
Yes.
They're like, okay.
Yeah, and like from my experience in learning in child development, that's exactly true. Like they don't know. It's much like being a 2-year-old, and you don't know how to handle your big emotions, so you're just screaming because you don't have words. You don't know what to do. And it's the same way. They're dealing with all these big emotions, these big bodily changes. They're growing fast. They're tired more because they're growing fast. They're eating more. Maybe they have growing pains. So like they're having all these things happen. And we talked about how like we didn't, our parents didn't have to deal with XYZ when they were raising us, but we didn't have to deal with all the stuff that they're dealing with. And I would venture a guess that it's harder to be a kid now than it was when we were kids, because we've touched on the social media. We went through a whole pandemic. Hello, I didn't deal with that as a teenager. And then, the political climate, and the kids are becoming more aware and more open, and they can see the Black Lives Matter happening. They can see the protests happening. They can see the Trans Lives Matter, the LGBTQ things that are happening. They are very well aware of the world more than we were, and I think that's also, like you said, the social media. They're aware of the world, and so they're dealing with like world pressures as well, because we didn't watch the news. I didn't.
Yeah.
So I had no
Absolutely.
idea what was
or even
going on
so
in the
much
world.
or even in school. It's in school. If you're talking about the trans world, like that's in school. Like you're seeing that. And I know some schools have bathrooms where kids, they don't identify, you identify as this, and we didn't have that growing up. It's so totally different. And even for us, I know for me as an adult and some of my other friends, I'm like, okay, I just need to be politically correct. I don't want to say like the wrong like pronoun or like I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, I need to sit and I need to be educated because it's a different world. It's like we don't know, like we didn't have any of these things that the kids now today are dealing with, they're faced with, and you have questions. I'll never forget my son, he might have been like 7 or 8. Yeah, we were in Sephora. And you go in Sephora, it's makeup and everything. This guy's made up and everything. We're in line, and he goes, Mama, just really loud. He's like an innocent kid. I go, yeah. He goes, why is that man wearing makeup?
Oh, boy.
And I'm like, oh. And I'm like, oh, what do I say? And everybody looks at me, and they were smiling, and he looked. I go, well, honey, he does work at a store, you know that, for makeup, and he has to wear the makeup. And he goes, oh, but that's a
Yes.
prime example.
Oh yeah, I have an example that's much like that. We in our church, the former choir leader, she's not there anymore, but she was a trans woman, and so she opened her mouth to talk, and my son, his eyes got big because he heard a deeper voice than he was expecting. And he looks at me and he's, Mama, and I'm like, yeah, and he's like, why does she sound like that? And he's little, he's like 6. And I was like, she sounds like that because her voice is a little deeper. And I was like, and he was like, oh, well, did she used to be a man? Is that why her voice is like that?
Oh,
And like,
wow.
he's
Yeah.
aware. So he asked me that question. I wasn't going to bring it up and have this conversation in the middle of the church service.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, and we're whispering, I'm like, yes, she did. She was born with a penis, but sometimes people are born in bodies that they don't feel they don't fit in. And sometimes people are born in bodies that they want to dress like one way one day and the other day a different way. And you might see them one day and think, oh, that's a woman. And you might see them the next day and think, oh, that's a man, just based on what they're wearing. But what's happening is, for this lady at church, she was born in a boy's body like you have, but she does not feel comfortable in her body like that. So she is dressing her body to show the world, this is who I am. I'm a woman. And he was like, oh, okay. And that was it. Just like, and like, kids are wonderful because hate is taught. So kids are wonderful.
1,000%.
In that way. Exactly. So when I explained this to him, he was just like, oh, okay. Moved on with his day.
Yeah, same thing.
I was like, cool. All right. So no one was explaining that to us, but you're darn right. It is confusing, and we're not trying to hurt anyone's feelings here or trying to offend anyone, but I will frequently be like, okay, I will likely mess up your pronouns. I'm not doing it on purpose. Just correct me and we'll move on.
Yes, definitely. I feel the same way. You're just like, okay, I'm sorry. I want to get it right. Or just please educate me because I just don't know. I don't want to offend anyone. No.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I always say that. But that was so funny. I feel like it was like for them to be that young, your son and my son, and it was just like, they were like, oh, okay. And that was it.
Moving on, yes. Oh, that's
moving on. Okay. And never brought it up again. It's like, whoa.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then
even expecting it. You're like, whoa, that caught me off guard. Okay.
Those parenting moments are like, woo.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like,
I think we both handled it pretty well.
That would be like, it could be that you're the only person, A, that speaks to them that day, or B, that says something positive to them that day.
We did a great job.
I think kudos to us, yes.
Yeah, definitely. So funny.
And
okay,
let's see. It's probably incongruent, just like a thought I had. It's incongruent because we're teaching them this is fine. This is just the people. A trans person is a trans person. And then they grow up a little bit more and they see the things that are happening to trans people in this community sometimes, the bad things. Yeah. And that must mess with their heads a little bit too.
Yeah. And they'll have questions. You know, you just like, I feel like if you're a family where you can have such an open dialogue, and we are, like, communication is key. And it's not just in a relationship with mommy and daddy. It's a relationship within the family, you know? Yes. I think once you do that, they're so much better prepared when they go on the outside world to be empathetic and just understand and say, you know what? Okay, maybe I didn't understand, but now you know what? Okay, now I know. All right. And should not judge people, because at the end of the day, people are people. We're all just trying to, like, navigate through this world the best that we know how to. And being acceptance is key. You just never know. Like, someone new at your school, go up, how you doing? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hey, my name is this. Sometimes just saying hi makes the world of a difference to someone.
Yeah, my son is shy, and we're working on him getting out of his shell in the real world. And I'm like, just say hi to someone if you pass it in the hallway. Say, I like your shoes. And he's like, why would I do that? I'm like,
oh, yeah. Yeah, that's so true. It's the small little things.
Doing for someone when you say hi or give a smile or a compliment.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Okay, let's see. I know we were like we were talking for my audience. Erin and I were like talking forever the other day. We're just like chatting, and we're like, this is gonna go really long.
It's gonna be a good one.
Like, hit it off. Okay, we already said like how we deal with the back of the talk. Okay, how do you punish your kids for their bad or disrespectful behavior?
I'm not a hands-on punisher, meaning they very rarely have felt my hands touch their body. And and that even stopped when they were just like little, and it was like, hey, get over here, you're doing something dangerous, and I had to grab your arm or something. But like discipline, it's always, and it's still hard, because as they grow and change, I have to figure out different ways to discipline them that actually matter to them. Because
Right.
the thing is, like, a lot of the things don't matter to them that I take away or whatever. And so for a while it was, you can't have screen time. And then that became hard to police, because they're just, oh, they're walking up and turning on the TV and I'm not home all the time. What are we going to do? And then they got phones, and it was, okay, we're taking your phone away. And that worked a little bit, but it didn't really, because here's the
They can
fun
go on the
part about-
computer.
Yeah. Here's the fun part about when your kids are twins and also in distance learning, they need their computer for school. I can't take the computer away. And there's two of them, so if I take one's phone, what do you think is happening? The other one is just texting her friends from the other one's phone. So realistically, it's still something I struggle with, to figure out what matters enough to them, what will make a difference enough to them that I can, like, I guess, use as a pawn. And like, you're trying to teach real world, like, consequences too. Like, the world's not going to take your phone away, but I try to come up with like real world consequences. And then now the girls are driving, so I'm like, oh, you want to go somewhere? Oh, nope, you won't be going anywhere. And it's taken 17 years, but I got my pawn that works really well.
You do. That's a good one. Yeah, that's really good. For me, I feel like I'll say, yeah, I'm the same way as well. I always say everyone can parent the way they want to, but we don't believe in physically putting our hands on our kids at all.
Same.
I just feel that it's like you physically have put yourself hands on a child, and it's like pain and they're upset. No, I just feel like there's another way that we can parent. Like, take things away, go to your room. You're going to have a timeout. You're not going to have this. When he was young, we would do timeout.
Oh, yeah.
And that was very effective, because they're like, what do you mean I can't come out of the room, or you're going to sit here and you're not going to talk? But now it's more, this is a big problem I have, is I'll say, you're going to be punished. I'm going to take your phone, and I never follow through.
I know.
Never.
Yeah.
Because he just starts being good, and I'm just like, ugh.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm terrible at that.
Yeah, I'm bad at following.
And my husband is not the disciplinarian. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not good at that.
Yeah,
I don't follow through.
If I'm tired, okay? Like, you're tired. We're busy people. Like, I don't always have the energy to follow through with whatever punishment I said was going to happen.
Yeah.
Oh
I'm
my
just like,
gosh.
oh,
Yeah.
so funny. I'm just like, no, I'm just like, oh, he'll be like, Mommy, can I have my phone? Or he's, Mom, why are all these off? And I'm like, I took it off. I was only going to give you an hour. He's, I needed to do this, and then I'll put it on. And I'm just like, ugh, I don't
Okay,
care.
fine. And then God knows he might need it to do this, but then he's doing whatever else.
Yeah, and you're just like, whatever. So, yeah, that's really, I do not follow through. I'm like, you're on punishment. He's already
Yeah.
like, sure, I'm on punishment.
Yeah.
Sure, Mommy, whatever you say. It's like, you know,
You're
but
like, oops.
yeah, oops. I'm
Mommy's
like, oh,
tired too.
yeah, I'll just be like, oh, whatever. However, I will say, if I'm like, you give me your phone, like during the weekday, I'm like off the phone. Like in his class, they have a group text, because most of the kids in the 6th grade have. Oh, if it's like homework related, oh, can you send me this? Which is really nice, because it takes the parents out of it. It's like,
Yeah.
ugh,
You
I
don't
am
have to email the
tired.
teacher
Like,
and-
yeah, like I have a million things to do. Like, I can't sit here and be on the mommy chain saying, can you send me the math page? Give me the social. No, they're old enough. They can do it. Oh, we have to study for this. We have a test for this. What do you, and it's really good. Like, they can do that.
Yes.
But at a certain time, I'm like, 8 o'clock, everyone should have their homework done. The phone goes off. He's
Bring
like,
the phone.
okay, Mommy, that's good. You're off, phone's off. You know, you want to watch a little TV, you want to read, that's fine. You know, or I'll say, it's bedtime. You should go to bed at 9 o'clock. He goes, nope, my bedtime's at 10 o'clock. I go, I don't even care. Just
Yeah.
go to bed.
You're like,
Put
okay,
you to
I'm
sleep.
going to bed. See you later.
Yeah. You put yourself to bed. I'm sure if you're extremely tired tomorrow, maybe you'll decide to go to bed a little earlier. But
Yeah,
I
you'll
can't.
learn
Like,
your
I feel
lesson.
like, yeah, I'm like, it's not worth it to me. Like, when he was younger, it was really about his schedule. You need to go to bed at this time. Now he's a little older. I'm just like, he'll
Nah.
go to bed.
Yeah.
He's going to go. I
Yes.
can't.
No,
Yeah.
and for us, our third one, like we are totally. Wait, the girls think that he's our favorite. No, he's not. We're just tired.
Normally what happens, they
We like just are. We're more flexible with him just because we're tired. We're exhausted. Like I don't have the time or energy to sit here and enforce his bedtime, and I'm just like, you know what? If you're tired tomorrow, you're gonna feel it, and you're gonna. That's your. There is your natural consequence, and that will teach you sometimes better than I can.
definitely, because it's not worth it. You're like, why am I getting myself so worked up? You fall asleep jumping out of bed.
Yep.
It's 9:30. You're still up. It's 10 o'clock. I'm like, yo, go.
He'll go
Yo,
to bed. He'll
go.
fall asleep.
You'll fall
I'm.
asleep. I
Yep.
can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're there.
And
Same.
yeah, totally. And sometimes, like, my favorite is when they think that you're punishing them just to punish them, just to get something, get them to do something for you, basically. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
no. So, prime example of this is we have in our family room, the carpet is like a very light cream color to white, and I did not choose that. It was here when we moved in. So,
Mm-hmm.
my daughter and her boyfriend will hang out in the family room when he comes over, and they're 17. They've been together for 2 years. I love that kid. He's very nice.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's so
so
sweet.
it's great. Like she picked a good one. It's worked out really well, and he hangs out here. We like him, and his parents are good, and so they will hang out upstairs. And our dogs love this kid. They just love him, so they want to be with him too when he's here. And so the dogs will come upstairs and hang out with them, but one of them is a puppy still, and so sometimes he'll have accidents. You can point out, you can see when he's looking to go to the bathroom, like he's walking around, he's sniffing, like there's signs, right? But my daughter's too distracted to see any of it, and he just pees on the rug, pees on the carpet. And I walked up here after her boyfriend was over here the last time, and it was like there were like 4 or 5 separate pee stains, and I was pissed. And I
Oh,
was
yeah.
like, excuse me, Miss Ma'am, what the hell do you think you're doing? I was like, we have problems here. You're going to be shampooing that carpet. And she's, I just shampooed it like 2 months ago. I'm like, this is your consequence because you're not paying attention to the dog and he's ruining my carpet. It's disgusting.
Yeah. Oh,
And yeah, and so she was all pissy about it, about doing the carpets and everything. And then as a consequence, more extreme consequence, she's not allowed up here with her boyfriend anymore because she doesn't pay attention to the dog. And so she's just pissed about that, and she's, when am I gonna be able to be upstairs again? And I'm like, never. We're not there yet. I don't think you're capable of paying attention to the dog enough. And he's also still having accidents, so he's not ready to be up there without supervision, so not yet. And she's, can't wait until I turn 18. I'll be out from under your control. And I was like,
oh. You're like, no, you won't, because you'll still be living home.
first that, but second, I looked at her and I said, do you think parenting is purely about control? That I just want to control you, that I'm here to do that? I was like, I am not interested in controlling other people, including my children. I was like, if you step back and thought for 5 seconds about what you had to do and what the punishments are, you would see the lesson in the punishments. I said the first lesson was, you make a mess, you clean it up. The second lesson was, you don't disrespect other people's things. This is my house. You don't pay the mortgage. You won't be responsible for replacing the carpet when it gets to that point that it's disgusting and it needs to be replaced. And I said, and the third lesson is, you need to pay attention when there is something with you that depends on you for its livelihood, such as a child or an animal. It doesn't matter what you're doing and what you're distracted by. You need to at least have listeners open and eyes open enough to notice every move that animal or child makes. And she
So
was
true.
like, oh. And I was like, yeah, what?
Yeah, that's true. You're like, the dog had 4 accidents. You're like, are you kidding me? You're that preoccupied that you could not see animal on like 4
is what I'm
times.
saying.
I get once, but 4 times. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a little upset now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mommy is peed off.
Yeah.
Big
yeah.
time.
Not
Yeah.
happy.
Definitely. Not at all. Okay, let's see. What time is the curfew for the twins?
They don't really have one, but that's only because They're such good kids. We sit here and bitch and complain about our children so much, but really, I know in the big scheme of things, they're good humans. And so they don't tend to go out very often, but when they do, I'll just, depending on what's going on or who they're with. Layla she wanted to go out with her boyfriend, and they were just going to go hang out at his friend's house, which is like blocks away from our house. So I was like, fine, sounds fine. What are you going to do? Well, we're going to watch the football game. Okay. And it was a school night, or it wasn't a school night, it was a weekend. And I was like, okay, I want you to be home at 11. And then she texted, and I know where she is. She's literally like 3 blocks from my house. And she said, okay, the football game's not over yet. Can I come home when it's over? I said, no, because I know how football games work. This could be like another 2 hours, but you can stay until 11:30. So they don't have an actual set curfew for every day, but whenever they go do something, I give them a curfew that I feel is reasonable.
Right.
And I also keep in mind that like the state has a curfew for them, and they're driving now, and I don't like they have to be. I think the state's curfew for them on weeknights is 10 p.m.
Oh, okay.
And so like we caution about that too. If you're gonna be out past the state curfew, like you're taking a risk.
Definitely. Yeah. Okay. So that's good. I haven't gotten to that. I haven't gone there because we have to do everything now. So that like, now I'm going to piggyback on that. What age were they allowed to like date? Because when they're in middle school, like some kids will like that girl. I like that boy. Some kids are later. They could be way into high school, junior, senior, and still have never had. So I always say like every child is so different.
They are. Yep, and parents' rules are different. I didn't have rules. Like, I didn't come into parenting or have them turn a certain age and know, oh, this is what we're going to do. I dated in high school. Fun fact, I married somebody that I dated in 10th grade. We're not high school sweethearts because we weren't together the whole time. But yeah, I understand the desire of wanting to date. Once again, I get child development. I know what's happening in your body. I understand the feelings that you're having. Like, our kids always think that we're so far removed from what their experience in life was, but I'm like
we were never kids.
I remember these feelings. Like, I have been there. I know I haven't been there in this time and right now, but I've been there. So there wasn't any actual rules. My son is 12 now. He hasn't expressed any interest in anything at all, so that's good. But my daughter's in middle school. I think it was about 8th grade, and one of them was dating someone. And what does that consist of in 8th grade? Not much.
Yeah, like
It's
nothing. Go to the movies, go to the mall, do something.
And maybe we're texting and calling. Like, honestly, there wasn't even any of that. It was just like almost like an in-school relationship. And I was like, oh, whatever. I don't know. Sounds fine. And then then high school starts, and they're like wanting to actually date. And my one daughter is a lesbian, so she wanted she had a relationship 10th grade year, and that was most of the 10th grade year. And that went fine, except for I think as high school relationships do, they sometimes just don't work out. And so it just didn't work out. And so she had a girlfriend for about a year and hasn't had one since. And I'm just like, whenever you're ready, whatever you want to do, I stay out of it. But she'll tell me, oh, there's this girl I like at school or something. But nothing ever comes of it. And I think that's probably a little harder because she's gay, because it's like there's just not as many lesbians at school.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Statistically, you have more kids who are straight than kids who are not.
Yeah.
So I think like her options are not as many as they would be when she grows up and gets into college and things. But my other daughter she started dating her boyfriend in 10th grade. They met, like I said, they were in high school or freshman year. They did distance learning, so they didn't go to the school until 10th grade. And she met this boy, and she liked him. They were hanging out in a big group of friends at school, and it was like early COVID, so we hadn't gotten vaccines yet, so we were being still pretty careful. We're not having people over to the house. We're not hanging out with other people. We're going to school and we're coming home. That's what we're doing. But there was a lot of on the phone, a lot of texting, and then eventually when the vaccines came out for the younger kids, like my son was able to get his vaccine, then I was allowing him to come over to the house more, and Layla was so upset. I have to wait to kiss him until Sean gets his vaccine. I was like,
Oh, how
yes, you
funny
do.
is that?
I was
I
like,
love
yes, you
it.
do. And
Yeah.
the best part is she did. She waited until her brother
Oh
was
my God,
vaccinated
I love
because she
it. I
understood
love it.
what was at
So
stake.
awesome.
So
Wow.
yeah, that was 10th grade. They're now seniors. They're still dating. They're still together. I could see it going a while, but I had no major rules. Just like, I want to know who their parents are. That was always my first question. Who are their parents and what do they do for jobs? And the kids are always like, why does it matter what they do for jobs? And I'm
For jobs.
like, so boyfriend's parents are college professor and I think a lawyer or something. And I'm like, those are both background check jobs. That's why I care.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so awesome. That is so awesome. So I feel like for me, it's Erin. I feel like this is why my audience, I'm letting you know, Erin and I really hit it off because we have our parenting styles are really the same. I don't feel like we're strict parents at all.
No.
We are like conversate. Yes. So the same thing. I'm like, what? It doesn't have to be a number because I remember when I was in middle school, I was like, oh, I have a boyfriend. And you're like, hey, I'm going to go here. Really? What is that even? We're going to go here
What
with,
does it
she
even
has the
mean?
boyfriend that they're friends. So now I see it in middle school where he's, oh, I like this girl. I want to see if we can go somewhere together, like in a public setting, do things, just hang out super like innocent. And he's extremely respectful. Like he's the type, like if he likes one girl, he likes one girl only and that's it. But yeah, and I'm just like, oh, I've never thought to have, and I had someone say to me, oh, they know that they can't date until their daughter's 16, and I thought, oh, okay, yeah, not so much in this house. Like
Yeah,
I don't have an age. He's 11, he's gonna be 12 in April, and if he's 11, and this is my girlfriend, we're texting, and now they talk on the phone. It's like they pull up their phone and they're like looking at each other, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'd want to be looking at my boyfriend all the time if I'm like not looking pretty.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's fine because I'm just like, it's innocent and just, so I'm the same way as well. It's just, there is no number. It's just, if they like each other, they're respectful, you're respecting, and she likes you back, and it's fine. It's innocent. And the school that my son attends, it's like it's a smaller school, so I know all the parents know us, like everyone knows each other. You also know, like, it's such a great community that I would never think twice if I was like, hey, listen, I can't get there for pickup. I call one of the moms, can you pick up Chase? They'd be like, yeah. It's nothing, like it's that small community where we know each other. It's only one class per grade, so it's that, so we all know each other. Yeah, so I'm the same way as well. I've never, and my mom, and I think about it, my mom was never like, you have to wait till you're 16. No, that was another, my mom was really strict, but she wasn't like, as far as you can't like date or you have a boyfriend. She wasn't like that. And she also, one thing I loved about my mother is she was never like, even if she thought that the kid was like just not a good kid, she would be like, oh my goodness. She wasn't like, I forbid you. It was more like, you know what? She's going to learn and she'll see. And when your heart was broken, you come home and you're crying and it's okay. And never was like, I told you. So that's one thing I loved about my mom. And I'm the same way. I'm never going to be like, hey, because I feel like the more you tell your child, I forbid you, they're going to go, you forbid me. They're going to go at it like 100 times hard. So you just have to sit there, keep your feelings to yourself, and just, they'll figure it out, and just be there. If it doesn't work out, you just be there and support them. That's all. That to me was one of the best parenting takeaways that I learned from my mom. And I'm like, and yeah, and that's how we parent.
Yeah, my mom was similar. She like knew. I'm the youngest. There's just two of us, two girls, and my dad had 3 girls from his first marriage, but they were adults by the time we were being raised. So it was just the 2 of us in the house, and my mom was the same way. She knew, she was realistic. What are teenagers interested in? Oh, duh, sex. So she was very open and honest, and she told us when we were very young, what is sex and what is your body parts and masturbation, all the stuff. And like,
was good. My mom did not do that.
She told us about all of this before we were even teenagers. And so we grew up knowing before we even hit sex ed in school what bodies were. And my mom is not a medical personnel at all, so it's not surprising that I do that with my kids, given I'm a nurse. But my mom was like way ahead of her time. She was telling us, like, these are the body parts, this is how this works, and this is what this is, and let me know if you need birth control. And she didn't really say let me know if you need birth control, but my sister, she figured out my sister was dating someone, and it was like getting to that point, like just by seeing her with this guy, she was like,
yeah,
oh,
she's
yeah,
like, we need
happening.
to be proactive.
So and her tactic isn't exactly the best tactic, but she hands my sister a manila envelope full of pamphlets about different birth controls. And so they went and got her birth control pills. And then my time comes around, and she does the same thing, hands me the manila envelope full of birth control options. And I was just like, okay. And I didn't want to have that conversation with my mom. So I was lucky. I had a sister who was 5 years older than me. And so my sister was in college by the time I'm doing all these things and wanting birth control.
I love that. So awesome.
And my mom, obviously my mom is talking to my sister about what's happening, but my mom's, yeah, you take her to the gynecologist, get her the birth control, like, I'll sign the forms, it's fine, like, she's more comfortable with you, I totally understand. Rolls around to me being a parent, and I'm like, this is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna do that, but I'm gonna do it better.
I love it.
Yeah. So the girls were little. They were like 10, 11. It was before, because I was very well aware. I want to have this conversation before they have their periods. And
yes.
I was very well aware that those come earlier and earlier nowadays. So I think at 10 years old, we had a conversation about what is sex and how do the babies, because they were always like, how do the babies get in, Mom? We know how they come out. Yeah. How do they get in? And so I was like, okay, it's time to learn how the babies get in. Yes. And so we taught them about the babies, how the babies get in. I had, of course, a couple of textbooks. I had this Miracle of Life book that has a bunch of photos in it of, like, in utero babies and all this stuff. And I was, like, teaching them about dating and consent. And so what happens, girls, if he says if you love me, you'll do this with me. They were like, oh, he doesn't love you. And I was like, remember that.
So good. Oh my God, that's so good. I love that. Yeah, we're starting to have that talk. Like, my husband and I are like, my husband will talk to him. He's, what about this? Or I have a pubic hair, this. And I love that. And what I love is that he talks to not just my husband, but he talks to me like, Mommy, this. And I'm like, I love it. And I feel like some parents will shy away from it. They're like, it's a natural part of your body. Like, it's the anatomy of your body. And if you think that your 11, 12, 13-year-old boy, girl are not going to start having these feelings, you are sadly mistaken. Have the conversation. Don't hide behind it, because you don't want to be that parent that's, oh, I wouldn't have never thought that would have happened. Right. Don't be that parent. Yeah, your kids have these feelings. They like their bodies. They get a tingling feeling. They're feeling a certain way. It's okay. No, you shouldn't feel like that. Like, then they think they're bad. Like, no, it's natural. Yes. You never make them feel bad about feeling a certain way. Those conversations with your kid, you know, my mom was the opposite. It was like, oh my goodness, I never forget. I had my period, and I probably was 15 or 16, and I was like, hey Mom, can I wear a tampon? She's, you cannot wear a tampon because a tampon means that you're having sex. What? And I was like, really? Yeah, that means you've been touched. Hilarious. My mom's gonna listen to this and die laughing and be like, yeah, but you know what? Now I know she was, if she could do it different, she'd be like, oh my goodness, I wish. But yeah, that means you're being touched. Girls that wear tampons have been touched. And I'm like, wow. You know, it's hands. Like, I don't want the bulkiness. Yeah, I don't want the bulkiness or whatever. Like,
I look like I'm wearing a diaper here, Mom.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes there's the heavy days and I have to wear the big pads, and then what the hell? I look like I'm wearing a diaper.
Yeah. And it's, oh my goodness, Mom, but it's so funny. That's too funny. You know, I grew up like for the longest, when I would have friends like, oh yeah, I was wearing a tampon. I'm like, oh, my mother would say you were being touched. They look at me like I was crazy.
And then you realize,
you're what? Being touched?
Crazy.
Yeah, my mom is crazy. I love you, Mom, but some of the things you did were crazy.
And we don't blame you. Like, my mom did crazy stuff, and I do crazy stuff too, and I get it. Now that I'm a mom, I get it. We do things just because we're like, this will work. Then she won't. Yeah,
or because their mom did it. You're like, no, it's like, no, it's so crazy.
That's
it's
too
insane.
Funny. Oh my
Yeah, it
gosh.
was like crazy things like that. It would be like, oh no.
That's
So yeah,
hilarious.
that's what have been some of the
Yeah, like we touched on this. The pandemic was like a major loop. Like, I'm a nurse and I was at the bedside during that, and I wasn't like a COVID ICU nurse, but pregnant people get COVID too, okay? So and my kids would be just so frustrated with letting them back into the world, basically. And I just would look at them and say, I have never parented through a pandemic, okay? I don't know what
right.
I'm doing. I'm doing the best I can. So that is just something I was like, holy crap, I didn't anticipate this. Who does? Who does? It was 100 years ago that we had the last one.
That's totally how we are.
And fast forward to me, my daughter is like, Mom, I want to go to a swimming pool party and I have my period and I'm at work. I was like, okay, go. And like, she's at home with my husband. My husband's, I don't know,
Yeah.
like, she either
Yeah.
can't swim or I need you to help me with this. And I'm like, okay.
Wear a tampon.
Yeah, so I was like, wear a tampon. And she's, I don't know how to put it in. And I'm like, okay, I will go to my work bathroom. You go to your home bathroom and FaceTime me. And I don't want to see what's going on, but I can verbally
But we're going to
instruct
walk
you.
through. Yes.
And it
I
worked out
love
just
that.
fine. But
Oh,
yeah,
that's
it's
so
like
funny.
too hilarious, the differences in like generational parenting, where I'm like, yeah, 14-year-old, go ahead, wear that tampon to the pool party.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? Your girls are going to really be like, wow, thank you. Even your son, like, they're going to be like, wow, like, my mom was like, really? And I'm like, if that means being cool, I guess I'm cool. But I think it's just communication and just like
Right.
realizing, like, your kid is growing up. They're always going to be your babies. Like you said, your son, now he's 12, but he may be like, now he's no, but it could be over the summer he changes or he goes by and you're like, whoa, okay, this kid just flew up overnight. Something like, we need to have this conversation, talk to him. Everything's changing. You're just like, okay. But like, you don't shy away from it like it
No.
doesn't exist. It does
Exactly.
exist. And they're real feelings, and validate those feelings. Don't
Exactly.
sweep them away like, you're too young to feel that. No, yeah, it's
Yeah.
okay.
And think about
Definitely.
what you're doing by telling them that it's bad or it's dirty or it's wrong. Like, you are shaming them and setting them up for a weird sexual dynamic experience for the rest of their lives.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Knowing that your body is your body and it's okay to feel these ways. And you know what? You know, it's good. You're going to have discovery. You're going to get older. You're going to have sex. And it's
Literally
okay.
everyone's
It's not a
bodies
bad
do
thing.
this. It's not, you're
Yeah,
not alone.
not
This
alone.
happens. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So, my God, Erin, I love you. Erin's like my new favorite person, everyone. I love
that's so
her.
sweet.
She's like
I like
so
you
awesome.
too. You're the best.
Yeah, she's just so awesome. We're just like looking, I'm like, it's already been like a minute and hours, 7 minutes and
Doesn't feel
13
like it.
seconds right now. We're just chatting away
Just
and we're
chatting
still
away.
going. Yeah, I love it. We're just like on the couch, just, hey, let's talk about our kids.
Yep.
Let's see. I do think, okay, I think we covered that. What have been some of the challenges that you face raising your kids today? Especially the teenagers.
Yeah.
Right.
So nobody anticipated that, obviously. And then around that, like, I have to talk about things that our parents didn't have to talk about. Like, I live in Minneapolis, and George Floyd was murdered here, and yes, and,
Oh,
and
wow.
right by my work, actually, and I went to work
That's
that weekend,
huge,
and there was
Erin.
National Guard in front of the work and everything, and yeah, and if it was traumatizing for me, I can only imagine how traumatizing it was for the Black and brown community.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting here realizing, shit, I need to do anti-racism work like stat, and then I also need to pass this on to my kids, and so that they know and they are aware of, sometimes you don't even know what you think or what you say is racist, and you need to check yourself and educate yourself as to why it's racist, and then interrupt the behavior. And we have to talk about when you get pulled over by the police. Once again, I'm aware we're white, so we don't fit the usual statistic of people who get hurt by the police, but you need to be careful on where you're putting your hands and where you're moving your hands and how fast you're moving
Right.
your hands and that kind of thing, and like teaching them about just so much more about society, and that nobody was really talking to me about that. I was just like absorbing it from around the world. At school, what I'd hear on the news if I happened to catch some of it. But I'm having to talk them through things that are just so serious and so heavy.
Yes.
I don't even know how to talk myself through them. So I say no
So-
to that. Like,
Definitely.
so that is definitely hard, because it's like, if I don't even know how to get myself through this, how am I getting my kids through it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel the same way. Yeah, it's like these tough conversations that you have to have. Or have you ever heard of people say, well, I don't think that's a conversation for a child? And I'm like, why not?
Why not?
Why not? And I say the same thing as well. I'm like, there is really not too much that my son doesn't know, that he talk about. He asks questions, never like, you're a kid. You don't need to know that. It's what?
Why wouldn't he
Like,
need to know it?
no. Yeah. You have a
He
question?
asked me, he's wondering.
Yeah, ask me. We're going to talk about it. Or, and also, we're not those parents. I want you to do this. Why? Because I said so. No, talk about it. I want you to do this. Or this is, if you do, these are like these, whatever, just having that conversation. This could happen, or this is why we've asked you to do this. And like when they understand, they're more like, oh, okay. Exactly. I don't know. It's just, I feel the
like
same way.
Me explaining the carpet cleaning to my daughter. Oh, okay. That's why.
Yeah.
And that's why her response was just, oh.
Yeah, it wasn't like because I said, like, then it's like because I said so, now it's an argument, and you walk off, you're like, oh, what did you say? What did you mumble under your breath? And it's like big fight. Talk about it. Can we talk? And it's so funny. Oh, man, since he's been like, oh, man, old enough to talk to, we were like, you can talk to mommy and daddy about anything, everything. So we've always had those lines of communication, like, always. You get in the car, how was school, blah blah blah, what's this going on, blah blah blah, like anything. Not one of those parents that your kid is locked up in the room, you have no idea, they could be like designing some kind of bomb or whatever, like just crazy stuff that people are like, I have no idea that my kid is, because you don't communicate with your child.
You're not paying very close attention.
Yeah, or when someone says my kid doesn't talk to me, and I'm like, that's like scary. Why doesn't your child talk to you? Your child should talk to you.
They get older and the talking slows down quite a bit. So I have to prod them and take other cues that are not verbal or conversational, that they're okay, or that they don't need help with something or something like that. And I also have learned that when stuff's going down for real, they still will come to me.
I love that. And that's what you want, right?
Yes. So if one of them's like feeling, the other one of them had a cramp, like a pain in her leg, and she was like, and they were preemies, so hello, they're very like medically apt. They're like, is something wrong with me?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, you're fine. But she was like, Mom, my leg feels like this. Why? What do you think it could be? And so when they need something, like when it's really something they're concerned about, when it's something they're worried about, when it's something that actually matters, I know they will come to me. Those conversations have slowed down quite a bit. Yeah,
but it's so good. It's just, I always say communication is key. This is a good one. Do you think that you can be your child's best friend?
Oh, no, you cannot. You are not here to be your child's friend. You are here to raise your child. And I tell them, especially the girls now, because they're older, I'm not here to be your friend right now. I'm here to raise you and make sure you're a productive human in this society. That's my job, is not right now to be your friend. We can definitely be friends later. I look forward to it. You're an adult, but we are not friends. And even when you're an adult, there will still be things that I will not talk to you about in the friend way, because you're still my daughter. Like my mom, like now that I'm 41 and my mom is 79, she talks to me a little bit more on a friend level, and we'll be talking about our marriages or whatever, and my dad's passed away now, but she'll throw out a fun fact about my dad, and I'm like, whoa, still your child. Still your child.
TMI, Mom.
Yeah.
TMI.
Exactly.
Yeah. So for me, I look at it differently. So I say yeah to that, meaning and I say it this way, both from my husband and I, we say, your best friend, meaning we are always have your back. We are your best friend. No one's going to have your back like we do. Like, you can tell us anything. We're never going to look at you differently or stop talking to you. Like, none of that. It's not a surface. Like, we are, of course, the parent, but I am your best friend, like having your back. Not your best friend where I'm sharing all those intricate things, but your best friend, meaning we got your back. No one's going to support you and cheer for you the way mom and dad are going to cheer for you. So that's when I say your best friend, and that's what I mean for a
I
best
would
friend. But I
fully
get what
agree
you're
with you.
saying. Best, I'm not going to tell you all that, but your
Yes.
best friend, meaning no one's going to have your back. Like
Yeah.
when the chips are down, if you got to make one phone call, I'm calling mom or
coming.
dad,
Yep.
and they are there. That's when I mean your best
Yes.
friend.
Oh yeah, and my kids know that for sure too, and I think that's why they still come to me when they're like concerned about something, even though they don't really tell me much about their lives anymore.
It's
So
like,
yeah,
I'm really looking forward to that.
I know. I'm sorry, in advance, but you're absolutely right. Like in that way, yes, I am their friend. They
Yeah.
know, like they know that they can come, they can call me. Like when they started their first jobs, we had a code word, like just call me and say this if you're feeling unsafe at work, or if somebody's coming
Oh, I
messing with
love
you at work.
that's
and
so
I would
awesome.
Come up there, like just text it or call it or whatever, and it's like you make it a normal word that they could say in that setting, so that they don't look weird. Of course, push never came to shove, so I didn't never have to do that. But so we now need a different code word for just all general situations. But when they got their first job, we had one because I was worried about leaving them somewhere without me.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. That's really smart. I never thought about that. I'll have to do that.
Yeah, that
never
way,
thought
and
of
then,
that.
So, for example, if your kid is at a party and they are uncomfortable, they text you like, "Mom, can you get some chips and guac?" And chips and guac is your code word, right? So you
Come
show
get me
up
now.
at the house and you act like he's in trouble. Chase, you didn't do the dishwasher. You were in so much trouble. Get your ass in this car. Blah 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 blah. And then he saves face and gets
With his friends. Erin, that is like freaking brilliant. I love that.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm going to
I've
do
never had
that.
to do it, but I've never had to do it, but I've heard of it. So.
No, but you know what? That's also really good if you have friends that are like maybe partaking in something that you don't want, maybe like a drinking or the drugs, and you're like, oh, I still want to be cool, but let me text this, and you can be like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
If you don't get your ass in, yes.
Yeah, you pretend
Love
like they're
it.
in trouble, and like
I
you're
love
obviously
it.
well aware of the plan, so he knows he's not in trouble.
Yeah.
And he just hops in the car. But yeah.